NASA's silence came first. Just as 3I/A Talos made its closest approach to Mars, a moment scientists had waited months for, the live feed from orbiters suddenly cut out. No explanation, no follow-up footage. And when pressed, officials pointed to a government shutdown, as if that explained why one of the most anticipated astronomical events of the decade went dark. But here's what we did get. Fragments of data from the James Webb Space Telescope, along with ground-based images and amateur captures. What they revealed didn't clarify the picture. If you're still watching, subscribe now. You crave more than answers. You seek what lies beyond. Subscribe now, and be part of the few who never stop searching. It made it stranger, a rod-like object. Metallic hints, active outgassing far from the sun, a CO-rich profile unlike any known comet or asteroid. These anomalies didn't just break the rules, they rewrote them. And the scientific community was left scrambling to explain what 3I/A Talos really is. The latest data from JWST doesn't just deepen the mystery, it forces a reconsideration of what qualifies as natural in the cosmos. 3I/A Talos is a chemical paradox, rich in carbon dioxide yet lacking the water-heavy behavior of typical comets. Its elongated shape and hybrid features defy classification, part asteroid, part icy body, and maybe, just maybe, something else entirely. Its arrival trajectory, aligning suspiciously with the 1977 WOW signal's origin point, has revived long-dormant questions about artificiality in interstellar visitors. Scientists are cautious but compelled, pointing to the object's unique surface evolution, its unexplained behavior near Mars, and spectroscopic signatures that don't align with known models. Whether 3I/A Talos is a natural fragment of a cold, distant system or a constructed probe of alien origin remains unknown, but what's clear is this: we've never seen anything like it, and we may never see it again. You're looking at something we've only seen twice before, and this time, it's different. Very different. 3I/A Talos, an interstellar object cutting through our solar system, has triggered a wave of confusion, silence, and speculation across the global scientific community. On paper, it's a comet. In practice, it's not behaving like one. And the more data we get, the harder it becomes to explain what exactly this thing is. The object made a close approach near Mars, an astronomical rarity. A chance for direct multi-angle observation using the James Webb Space Telescope, ground-based observatories, and even Mars rovers. The result? Nothing short of baffling. We now know 3I/A Talos is composed primarily of carbon dioxide, not water vapor, not ice, Kalis. That's an anomaly. That's not how typical comets behave. Especially not this far from the sun, because what makes this discovery even stranger is its outgassing. It's actively venting gas into space, well before reaching its closest point to the sun. That shouldn't be happening. At these distances, most icy bodies remain dormant. But not this one. And here's where the story takes a turn. During its closest approach, when public attention was locked in and high-resolution data was expected to stream in live, NASA's feed went dark. Abruptly. At the peak of public interest, right when the object moved into the best observational window, the broadcast ended without warning. Coincidentally, a US government shutdown took effect around the same time. But that timing, convenient or suspicious depending on your perspective, only deepened the public's mistrust. What came next was worse. Silence. No immediate follow-up, no press conference, no official explanation, just a data blackout. And during that blackout, something else was happening. Amateur astronomers, working outside government channels, captured high-zoom visuals of the object. What they saw wasn't consistent with any known comet or asteroid structure. Images appeared to show elongated, possibly metallic shapes. Some claimed they saw rod-like formations or unnatural contours, features not typically associated with naturally formed objects. Of course, visual anomalies can be misinterpreted. Equipment can distort. Angles can mislead. But paired with what the Webb telescope was detecting chemically, things started to stack in a way that made even the most conservative scientists pause. The JWST confirmed a high CO+ to A Talos ratio. That's rare. And the presence of crystalline water ice, another indicator of formation in an environment far colder than anything in our solar system. Plus an unusual chemical signature, high levels of nickel, low iron content. That doesn't match any known local bodies. It suggests origin from a chemically distinct planetary system, possibly the remnants of a shattered exoplanet or interstellar debris field. It doesn't stop there. Color changes in the object's surface were also recorded. Originally reddish, similar to many Kuiper Belt objects, it shifted to a more neutral solar-like tone as it drew closer to our star. That kind of color evolution can be natural. Solar radiation can chemically alter exposed surfaces, but in this case, the rapid shift combined with the object's already anomalous behavior sparked a more provocative theory that the material on the surface might be reacting in a controlled or engineered way. Some even suggested surface modifications consistent with artificial composites, though that remains speculative. Then comes the matter of its trajectory. Its path through the solar system is unusually clean, aligned almost precisely with the ecliptic, the plane along which the planets orbit. Natural objects from outside the solar system usually arrive at sharp inclined angles, the result of chaotic origins and gravitational flings from other star systems. But 3I/A Talis seems to glide through our celestial backyard like it was meant to. That trajectory isn't proof of intelligence, but it's a statistical outlier. And when you add the estimated mass, over 33 billion tons, it starts to feel less like a rock and more like an engineered vessel. Again, no one is saying that definitively. But no one is ruling it out either. And then there's the Mars moment. Some orbital analysts noticed a deceleration, a slight pause, as if the object lingered near Mars for longer than gravitational models predicted. Some call it noise in the data, others call it something else entirely. It's worth noting this object's path also correlates, broadly, with the area of sky from which the 1977 WOW signal originated. That infamous unexplained radio burst that's remained a staple in SETI research for nearly 5 decades. Is that connection real or coincidence? Unknown, but again it adds another layer of intrigue. What we're left with is a growing list of contradictions. It's outgassing like a comet, but it's structurally ambiguous, more like an asteroid. It has surface ice, but shows signs of metallicity. Its color changes like something reactive, maybe even synthetic. It travels cleanly and precisely, and it may have slowed down near a planet. None of that adds up. None of it fits neatly in the existing models. Scientists are cautious, as they should be. Claims of alien origin require extraordinary evidence, but that caution doesn't mean dismissal. What we're seeing with 3I/A Talis is the emergence of a new category of celestial object. One that straddles definitions, one that could represent either an extreme edge case of natural astrophysics, or something that falls outside the natural category altogether. Upcoming data will be decisive. Mars orbiters are scheduled to pass near its projected path. They'll attempt to capture high-resolution imaging, measuring surface texture, rotation patterns, spectral emissions, and any ongoing outgassing behavior. If the structure appears geometric, artificial, or shows material symmetry inconsistent with random formation, that will raise new questions. If it continues to vent gas, long past where the sun's warmth should be effective, that suggests internal energy sources, perhaps radioactive decay. Or again something else. Until then we wait. And while we wait, public interest is exploding, not because the public is desperate for aliens, but because this is the second time, after Oumuamua, that we've seen something pass through our solar system that doesn't play by the rules. First was 1I/Oumuamua. Now 3I/A Talis, both interstellar, both anomalous, both raising the same question: what is out there? And are we seeing the signs of another intelligence, or simply confronting how little we still understand? Because here's the truth, hard and humbling, our models of the universe are still infants. We're only now beginning to see beyond our local bubble. Every new interstellar object is a data point. But 3I/A Talis isn't just a data point, it's a challenge. A confrontation. It tells us that our assumptions about cosmic debris, about planetary systems, about how things move and behave outside our sun's influence, they're incomplete. And the consequences of that could be profound. Maybe it's natural, maybe it's the byproduct of a violent planetary collision, flung loose billions of years ago. Maybe it's a fossil from another solar system, but maybe it's something else, maybe it was built, and maybe it was sent, we don't know. And the silence surrounding its closest approach, government shutdown or not, didn't help. Science demands transparency. And when transparency collapses, conspiracy rushes in. That moment, that blackout, may go down as one of the most controversial in observational astronomy. But it also lit a fire. People are paying attention, astronomers, hobbyists, theorists, skeptics, all drawn to the question, and the response matters. Because the next interstellar object might not be quiet, it might be emitting, or maneuvering, or arriving, and by then we need to be ready. Ready to detect, ready to analyze, ready to admit what we don't know. This isn't science fiction, it's astrophysics, it's chemistry, it's raw data, and right now, the data does not align with expectations. 3I/A Talis is proof that the universe is still holding its cards close, that the cosmos, despite all our progress, still has secrets left to reveal. Keep watching the skies, and if you want to stay ahead of these discoveries, if you want to know what the next object might show us, subscribe, stay locked in. The universe isn't done surprising us, not even close, because once is an anomaly, twice is a pattern. First came 1I/Omoma. Now 3I/A Talis, both from beyond the heliosphere. Both ignoring the playbook, and both refusing to give straight answers. But 3I/A Talis isn't just a curiosity passing through, it's leaving marks on instruments, on theories, on the minds of researchers who've spent careers defining what normal means in astrophysics, and now, they're staring at something that shrugs off every established category. Let's go back to the core of the mystery. That COA's dominance isn't a side detail, it's central. Most comets are water-rich. They begin releasing vapor when solar heat kicks in, around the orbit of Jupiter or closer. But 3I/A Talis started venting carbon dioxide well beyond that. That implies something more volatile. Something closer to a deep space-time capsule, formed far from any star, in an environment with temperatures hovering near absolute zero. This isn't just rare, it's unprecedented. Even among interstellar objects, that level of outgassing at such extreme distance challenges basic thermodynamics. Something's generating energy, internally, or structurally, and the spectrum doesn't lie. The COA signals are clear, strong, sustained. So now the question isn't just what is this made of, but how is this even active? Then there's the size. Estimates put 3I/A Talis at tens of kilometers in length, massing over 33 billion tons. That makes it the size of a small island, towering over most asteroids, and dwarfing earlier interstellar visitors. It's massive enough to hold together under gravity, but just light enough to maneuver, if hypothetically, it were equipped to do so. Again, no one's saying propulsion, but the idea is creeping into the conversation, slowly, quietly, behind closed doors. Because here's the thing, the more you study the trajectory, the harder it is to dismiss the guidance hypothesis. It's moving too cleanly. No significant gravitational tugs, no major disruptions, no chaotic spin, just a smooth, steady transit, parallel to the solar plane. That's rare. That's suspicious, that's controlled, or engineered, and that's not coming from fringe voices. That's emerging from seasoned astronomers reviewing trajectory models that should be messy, but aren't. Now fast forward to the moment it passed Mars. Perseverance was watching. That's the rover that's become humanity's remote photographer on the red planet. It snapped solar eclipses, dust devils, and even UFO-like phenomena in the past. But when 3I/A Talis drifted near, the rover caught something odd. Raw image data from that time frame shows elongated silhouettes, dark and narrow, casting structured shadows. They're blurry, not definitive, but they raise questions, especially when amateur astronomers, back on Earth, began publishing independent captures that mirrored the same shape, long, rod-like metallic glints in the starlight. Not round, not tumbling, just gliding. That's when the theories escalated, not because people wanted aliens, but because the alternatives no longer fit. You reach a point where calling something natural becomes harder than entertaining the idea it's not. Then came the spectroscopic data, crystalline water ice, unusual for an object moving so fast, so far from any solar system, a high nickel signature, low iron content. This isn't a fingerprint you find in our own backyard. This is the kind of chemical profile that hints at an origin from a completely different stellar nursery, one where the rules of planet formation and chemical sorting may have followed a path we've never observed before. And now comes the most provocative piece of all: the alignment with the WOW signal. It's subtle, not exact, but enough to raise eyebrows. The WOW signal, an unexplained high-intensity radio burst detected in 1977, came from a general region of the sky that this object appears to be emerging from. That doesn't mean they're connected. It could be coincidence, but it's a coincidence that sits in the back of every researcher's mind, quietly gnawing away at statistical confidence. What if this isn't just random? What if these events are echoes of something larger? That's the whisper no one wants to say out loud, because the truth is, our tools are improving faster than our ability to explain what they're detecting. The James Webb Space Telescope is giving us clarity we've never had before, and that clarity is revealing a universe more alien than we expected, not teeming with little green men, but filled with objects, behaviors, and compositions that make our look like rough sketches drawn in the dark. 3I/A Talis is a perfect example of that cosmic gap between theory and observation. It looks like a comet, but it vents like an engineered system. It moves like a probe, but registers like a rock. Its surface evolves like something reactive. Its materials hint at distant, unknown regions of space, and its silence, utter consistent silence, screams the loudest. So what do? We wait, because more data is coming. Orbital assets around Mars are recalibrating. Tracking continues, and in the coming months, its perihelion, its closest approach to the Sun, will offer one last chance to see how this thing behaves under real heat. If the outgassing spikes in unusual ways, if the structure deforms, if the trajectory shifts, even slightly, in ways that don't match solar radiation pressure, then we'll have more than questions. We'll have evidence, not necessarily proof of life, but proof that the universe is stranger, more complex, and less predictable than we thought. And it already is. 2 interstellar visitors, both unbound, both mysterious, both carrying data from corners of the galaxy we've never touched. One came and went, the other is still here, but they both brought the same message. We are not ready. Not ready for the scope of the unknown, not ready for the chemical variance, not ready for the silence that doesn't behave, and certainly not ready for the possibility that something or someone might be looking back. And when institutions go quiet, when a live feed cuts during the critical moment, with no follow-up, public trust doesn't just erode, it collapses. Transparency isn't a luxury in modern science, it's a necessity. And the silence around 3I/A Talis has created more noise than answers, because people will fill the vacuum with theory, with fear, with hope. And that makes the stakes even higher for the next round of observations. If it's natural, then we've discovered a new class of interstellar objects, active, massive, chemically unique. That alone would rewrite textbooks. If it's artificial, then we're standing at the edge of a new era, one where we are no longer passive observers of the universe, but participants in something larger. For now, the object moves on, toward the Sun, through the void, past Mars, leaving behind more questions than any rock should be capable of. And still, it says nothing. No signal, no rotation beacon, no emission burst, just silence. But it's a silence that feels deliberate. In the coming weeks, as it rounds its orbit and begins to exit the inner solar system, instruments will continue to track, the data will mount, and the truth, whatever it is, will have to confront the facts, not the theories, not the hopes, the hard numbers. Mass, trajectory, composition, behavior. Those 4 variables will tell us what we need to know. Whether we're looking at a rogue piece of shattered planet from an ancient catastrophe, or something that was made, shaped and sent, we don't need speculation, we need answers. And 3I/A Talis is carrying them. But answers don't always come clean. Sometimes they come wrapped in uncertainty, and sometimes the answer is the question itself. What else is out there? Because this is just the beginning. More will come. They already have. Interstellar objects aren't once-in-a-lifetime anomalies anymore. They're on the move. They're passing through. And each one carries a fingerprint of a different part of the galaxy. Some we might understand, others might understand us. 3I/A Talis is slipping past Mars now, quiet, distant, unbothered by the millions of eyes locked onto its every movement. It doesn't react. It doesn't change course. It just continues. On a path that looks more like intent than accident. There's a weight to this object, not just its mass, though, at over 33 billion tons, it's more than enough to crush questions beneath it. No, the real weight is conceptual, existential. It forces you to rethink everything you thought was settled, because if this is natural, then nature is far more creative than we ever gave it credit for. And if it's not, then we are being watched by something that doesn't care whether we understand it or not. The unsettling part, there's no signal, no attempt to interact, no artificial beacon, just that perfectly clean orbit, that strange chemical composition, those odd shapes caught in snapshots that defy classification. If this were a probe, it wouldn't need to announce itself, it would only need to observe. And maybe that's exactly what it's doing. Maybe it was never meant to be discovered. Maybe it wasn't even aimed at us. Maybe we're just collateral curiosity, primitive creatures staring up at something that was launched 1,000 lifetimes ago by hands we'll never shake. Or maybe it's a fragment, a piece of some larger construct, broken loose in a cosmic disaster, wandering ever since, ancient, lost, still carrying traces of purpose buried beneath its silence. There's no comfort in either answer, because in both, the message is clear. We are not alone in the physical sense, but worse. We are not alone in the realm of complexity. There are objects out there that operate on principles we don't yet understand, whether born of natural chaos or deliberate design. 3I/A Talis represents a tier of knowledge we haven't reached. Yet here it is, right in front of us, daring us to ask the right questions. In a few months it'll pass perihelion, its closest point to the sun. If something happens then, if its outgassing surges unexpectedly, or if we detect structural deformation, or if the trajectory shifts under conditions we can't explain, then the discussion changes, permanently. Until then, it drifts, a mystery wrapped in data, a ghost from the stars with no past we can trace, and no future we can follow. But it's here now, and whatever 3I/A Talis turns out to be, it's already done its job. It has reminded us how little we know, how fragile our certainties are, and how wide the universe really is. So if you want to know what happens next, what we find, what we don't, stay low. Subscribe, follow, and don't look away, because the cosmos isn't finished yet. Not with us, not with this story, and 3I/A Talis may only be the beginning.